Hi, my name is Kristen, and I'm the owner of a hoarding and biohazard cleanup company. Most likely, you are watching this video because you're considering a career as a crime scene cleaner. I'm really glad you found me and hope you will subscribe and click the notification icon so you will be the first to know when new content and opportunities are available. In this video, I will share some information about a crime scene cleaning career, as well as some stories about a few of the jobs we have done and the people that we have helped. In addition, I'll tell you about the types of jobs you might do besides crime scene cleaning. Jobs like hoarding cleanup, apartment clearouts, animal waste removal and disinfection, and communicable disease sanitation. I'll share some stories here too, just so you can see what these non-crime scene cleaning jobs are like. I'll also tell you how to apply for our jobs. First though, let me tell you about why I got into the hoarding and biohazard business and what kind of people I'm looking for to do this work alongside me. I started this business out of a desire to help people who were in situations that were new, emotional, and even traumatic. Certainly, part of the way I could help them was to take care of the clutter, garbage, animal waste, decomposition from an unattended death, or blood from a crime scene or accident. Cleaning up these situations takes hard, physical labor, the ability to handle really bad odors, and an attention to small details. The other way I wanted to help people, though, is by approaching each of these situations with respect and compassion. Whether the customer just had a loved one die, or they themselves finally asked for help removing years of clutter and trash from their home, the situation they are in is probably both scary and confusing. These customers deserve to be treated with kindness and with the goal of making things a little easier for them. That's why I got into the hoarding and crime scene business. But because I can't help very many people by myself, I'm always looking for people who are interested in doing this kind of work. As you can imagine, one of the top characteristics for both techs and supervisors in this business is compassion. Even if you don't understand how a person could live a certain way, or why it is so hard to get rid of something that's obviously trash, successful employees are compassionate toward the customer, non-judgmental, and truly concerned that they can make the customer's life a little bit better. Besides compassion, what other characteristics do successful techs and supervisors have? The four that come to mind include, number one, physical strength. Sometimes jobs involve a lot of heavy lifting, like moving a piano or chest freezer from the basement, upstairs, and out of the house. Or maybe that sofa bed from the attic, downstairs, and out of the house. Sometimes the lifting isn't bad, but the conditions are hot or cramped. Number two is a strong stomach. Many of our job sites don't smell very good, and even after the clutter or biohazardous material have been removed, the odor can linger. This odor is very distinct, and yet you need to be able to continue to do your job in spite of it. In addition, some of the things you might see on the job aren't very pretty. Being able to handle the sight of blood, animal feces, and sometimes even the bodies of dead animals is part of the job. Number three, the ability to follow directions. This characteristic is probably one that every employer desires, but it is especially important in this role. Why? Because to keep you safe, we need you to follow directions regarding personal protective equipment, appropriate handling of biohazardous waste, and safety when clearing out trash piled over your head. Not to mention procedures that will help the job be completed more efficiently. The fourth characteristic is flexibility. When you work for a hoarding and biohazard cleaning company, your days are never the same. Some mornings you might think you will not be working that day, but you end up sanitizing a property where someone was diagnosed with a communicable disease like MRSA or C. diff. Other days, you start working at a hoarding job, sorting trash from donations from items to be kept, but then are called away to clean a crime scene. Still other days, you might work only a few hours cleaning out the work truck or taking trash to the dump. And finally, there will be some days that you don't have work at all. In spite of the bad smells and the hard work, this job is really very rewarding. According to our current workers, there's nothing like looking at the faces of our customers after the job is done and seeing the relief, joy, and sometimes even tears there. What other things do our current staff like about this job? These are the things they tell me. Number 1, meeting a variety of different customers. So many of the people we work with have unique stories that we get to know as we work alongside them. Others have experienced so much hardship and loss, and we are able to take a little weight off and make things a little easier just by doing our job and by doing it with compassion. Number 2, our staff also likes the fact that they will be doing something different with just about every job. Even after working for the company for several years, our supervisors frequently get calls to do a job that is a little different than what they have done in the past. Or maybe a job that needs to be done a little bit differently than they've ever done it in the past. It can be mentally challenging sometimes, but it is never boring. Number 3, the crew often talks about the beauty of hard work. The physical labor we do can be described as good, honest work. You might be tired at the end of the day, but the outcome is a home that someone is no longer afraid to have anyone see. A basement or an attic that is clear of wild animal waste and the contamination that results. Or a business where the evidence of death is no longer present. It is almost like we're giving our customers a fresh start, and that is a good feeling. Now, I'd like to take some time to answer 2 questions that I frequently hear from people who are interested in doing hoarding and crime scene cleaning. Number 1, what kind of certification or education do I need? And number 2, what would a day or a week look like working for your company? Let's tackle the first question. What kind of certification or education do I need? This answer is easy. The only things you need to bring to this job is what we talked about earlier: physical strength, a strong stomach, the ability to follow directions, and flexibility. You don't need to bring any special certification or have taken any classes before starting to work for a hoarding and biohazard cleanup company. For supervisors, we will team you up with one of our trainers who will teach you our policies and procedures and ensure that you also receive formal training as needed. For techs, you will receive most of your training on the job. That way, you'll learn what you need to know when you need to know it. Come with a good attitude, and we'll take care of the rest. Now for the second question. What would a day or a week look like when working for your company? This will take me a little longer to answer, but before I give examples of the kind of work we do, let me start with a general statement. No 2 weeks will look the same. Sometimes no 2 days will look the same. All of our employees work on an on-call basis. What does this mean? It means that you will not have a set schedule from week to week. In fact, you will not be guaranteed a certain number of hours each week. I'll be honest, this situation is difficult for many people. It is difficult not to know exactly how much money you will make in each paycheck. It is difficult not to know exactly how many hours you will be working or when. If you can be flexible, though, you will find that you will be well compensated, and you may even have overtime hours from time to time. You can make a good living doing this work. Now let me tell you a little about the work itself. I'll tell you a few stories about some of the people we have met and jobs we have done. None of the names I'll use are real, because it is important that we protect the privacy of our customers. Sometimes people are embarrassed about the way they are living, and other times they are afraid they will be evicted. Sometimes people do not want a lot of attention from neighbors when a loved one has committed suicide. We respect that and try to be as discreet as possible with our vehicles, clothing, and even where we choose to talk to our customers. One of the first hoarding jobs I did was for a customer named Olivia. Olivia's mother had passed away, and her family had started to clear out her home, the home they had grown up in, from many, many years of clutter and dog feces. After a while, they realized they just couldn't do it themselves. Olivia had a lot of questions about how the cleanup would happen, whether or not she and her siblings would be able to choose what happened with some of the items from the home, and especially if we could look for a few specific items. The family thought about my answers and agreed to have us clean up the house. Each day, I would get updates from both the supervisor in charge and Olivia about what had happened and how things were progressing. Olivia could not believe how comfortable her family felt with the crew, so comfortable that they were joking with the techs and ended up working on a few rooms right beside them. They were pleased to know that donatable items went to the charity of their choice and that we were able to find several of the items they were looking for. Most importantly, they were excited to see books and games from their childhood that they thought were lost forever. In the end, the house was a safe place to live again, and the family could make even more good memories there before they chose to sell it. What a great feeling for both my team and the customer. That job took over a week to complete. We've done a few jobs that have actually taken longer, up to 3 weeks, I think, and some that have been just a day or two. One of the quick jobs we did was for a man named Greg, who had a garage full of items that needed to be either donated, discarded, or moved into the house. Was Greg really a hoarder? Probably not, but he felt comfortable with our crew and knew that we could do a good job. Plus, we could have everything done in one day. That is a huge benefit of using a company like ours. We can accomplish so much more in one day than an individual or even a family working alone. In addition, at the end of the day, all of the items were gone, and Greg didn't have a pile to take to the dump and another pile to donate. That makes things easier for the customer, and our team also likes the feeling of accomplishment. I have one more hoarding story I would like to share with you, one that is very different than the first two. Sandra called us fairly late one night and was very, very emotional. She had just been told by the health department that they were going to declare her home uninhabitable if she did not have it cleared out and cleaned. This was on a Wednesday, and the inspector would be back on Monday to see what she had done. Now, most city inspectors really want to keep people in their own homes. They don't want to kick them out or condemn a property, but they will do it if the individual is living in an environment that is unhealthy and even dangerous. So, even though it was pretty late on a Wednesday night, we got some pictures from Sandra and wrote up an estimate based on what she told us. This is sometimes tricky as pictures rarely tell the whole story, but it allowed us to get started and we could further assess the situation once we got there. Sandra signed the estimate and we were able to get a dumpster delivered to the house the next day. Staffing this job was going to be tricky for us because our supervisor in the area was going to be on vacation in a few days, and we had to pull another supervisor in from a neighboring state. One supervisor started the job, and another supervisor finished it. We were still working when the city inspector came back on Monday, and he was very impressed at everything that had been accomplished, from clearing out trash and unnecessary items to removing animal feces and sanitizing surfaces. Even though we wouldn't finish the job for another day or so, Sandra knew she was no longer in danger of being removed from her home. The glue that held everything together for Sandra? The customer service person who answered her call on Wednesday and talked with her almost every day until the job was over. She was never personally on site, but her presence over the phone helped to ease Sandra's fears. What a great feeling. So, some weeks you might work 3 or 4 long days at a hoarding job. Other weeks you might have a 1 to 2 day hoarding job and then end up cleaning a crime scene or maybe sanitizing an attic where raccoons had lived for a period of time. Let me tell you about a few of the biohazard cleaning jobs we have had and the customers we have helped. First, let me tell you about Jason. Jason was an older man who helped out his even older brother by bringing him groceries and taking him to church. At the end of the week, Jason went to visit his brother and take him to church. No one answered. Jason tried to open the door, but even though he could unlock it, he was unable to push the door open. He went around to the back door, got inside, and found that his brother had fallen and died, right in the front entryway. It was probably because of a heart attack, and it probably happened right after he had gotten a delivery early in the week and gone back inside. Jason contacted the police and eventually called us. Basically, our job was to clean and sanitize the area where Jason's brother had laid for the better part of the week. Because the body decomposed between the time when he died and the time when his body was removed, we ended up removing the flooring to ensure that the biological material was 100% gone, and then using an ozone machine to remove the lingering odor from the air. While we were working, Jason could focus on making funeral arrangements and spending time with his remaining family members. He didn't have to worry about his brother's apartment. The next story is very different, and actually it was one I didn't believe when the call first came in. Naomi and her family were on vacation when a skunk family got into their basement. They made themselves at home and comfortable, but eventually something spooked them. And you know what happens when skunks are spooked. They spray. And the thing is, they didn't just spray in one area. They sprayed around the basement, but mostly they sprayed right near the furnace. And the furnace was on. And so the scent was spread throughout the whole house. Can you imagine what Naomi and her family thought or smelled when they got home? Ugh! The family knew they had to do something major. First, they had the whole furnace and ductwork replaced. But the odor lingered in the cement in the basement, around the furnace, and also in the walls near where the vents came out on other floors of the home. Our crew came in, treated those areas, treated the air, and waited. We did that multiple times until the odor was no longer noticeable. The family ended up moving and was able to sell their house without any problems. What a relief for them. One last story, and this one is a true crime scene like you might see on the news at night. This involved a husband and a wife who were both police officers. One day, they got into an argument, and he shot her and then shot himself. We were called in by the police chaplain, who had been called to the scene to help the officers who responded, as well as the couple's young children. We arrived at the scene before it was cleared by the police, so we waited until we were allowed in. Once allowed in, we found two main areas that needed to be cleaned. The kitchen, where blood and brain matter were spattered throughout, and the living room, where one of the bodies laid and the blood had pooled. We removed all of the biohazards, and when we were finished, the police locked up the home and left. They were so thankful that we were able to remove the physical evidence of what had happened at the home earlier that day, both for any police who came back the next day to investigate further, and also for the extended family who would need to come and empty out the home. Clearly, these kinds of jobs are exciting, but in all of the jobs we do, exciting or more mundane, we approach them in the same manner, treating the customer with respect and compassion and completing the work in a thorough manner. And that is what we are all about as a company. I hope you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about the world of hoarding and crime scene cleaning. Please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification icon so you will be sure to see any new videos or information that we post. If you are interested in a position in hoarding and crime scene cleaning, then definitely subscribe and also click on the application link in the description below. Did watching this video make you think of a friend or family member who would be a good fit? Share the video and the application link with them. We would love to hear from you and then talk with you as part of our application process. Thank you for watching.